Thank you for joining us. I'm Yoon Jung-min. President Yoon Suk Yeol's impeachment trial resumed on Tuesday with more witnesses testifying at the Constitutional Court. It's the second to last hearing, but the fiery debates are showing no signs of ending soon. We have our correspondent Oh Soo-young live to bring us the latest. Soo-young, the hearing today began with questions over whether President Yoon declared martial law after correct procedures. Let's start with the first witness, former Interior Minister Lee Sang-min.
Sure, Jung-min, good evening to you. Well, former Interior Minister Lee Sang-min appeared to back President Yoon's claims that his martial law was legal against assertions that Yoon had bypassed cabinet procedures required before declaring the decree. And previously, acting president and former finance minister Choi Sang-mok had said that there had not been a formal cabinet meeting beforehand and that he hadn't seen Defense Minister Kim Yong-yeon recommend the decree to the Prime Minister as per the constitutional requirement for martial law. Now, he said while it wasn't scheduled as a cabinet meeting, around 7 members initially gathered and waited for the 11-member quorum to be filled. He said those present would have considered themselves to be in a cabinet meeting. Also, in direct contradiction with prosecutors' records, he denied that he'd asked the National Fire Agency to cut water and power to news organisations and said he did not receive such orders from Yoon. While the former minister said he tried to dissuade the president from declaring martial law, he understood where the decision came from. Yoon himself took to reiterate his claim that the opposition Democratic Party has sabotaged the administration by constantly impeaching officials and, crucially, cutting the government budget.
도대체 제가 대통령으로서 야당이 아무리 저를 공격하더라도 왜 대화와 타협을 안 하겠습니다. 야당을 설득해서 뭐를 해보려고 한 건데 이 문명국가에서 도대체 현대사에서 볼 수 없는 이런 줄타내기라고 하는 것은 이거는 대단히 악의적인 거고 이거는 대화와 타협을 하겠다는 것이 아니라 그냥 이 정권을 파괴시키는 것이 우리의 목표라고 하는 것을 명확히 보여주는 겁니다.
Yoon added he believed the martial law proclamation could be signed off on afterwards, given the highly sensitive nature of the decree. National Security Advisor Shin Won-sik also indicated that a cabinet meeting had been held, saying that he'd been told that it was ongoing by Yoon's Chief of Staff Chung Jin-seok. Questions for the third and fourth witnesses focused on election fraud allegations raised by Yoon as a pretext for declaring martial law. Former Third Deputy Director of the National Intelligence Service, Baek Jong-wook, and the National Election Commission's Secretary General, they answered questions regarding this, and Baek said that the service had seemed vulnerable to external attack to the point of a social crisis, he said, but he wouldn't comment on election fraud as the service hadn't been examined for related irregularities. The Election Commission Secretary General Kim Yong-bin also stood witness. He said that he hadn't been made aware of any false voting ballots and said various inspections had been conducted ahead of the general election last year and that it would be virtually impossible to replicate ballots.
Meanwhile, the court has yet to decide on additional hearings beyond the final and 8th hearing this coming Thursday.
Yes, so in order to formally conclude the hearings, the judges would have to listen to the closing arguments by both legal teams, as well as President Yoon's final statement. Now, this, I think, would take around 2 to 3 hours, and given that 4 witness statements are planned for Thursday, it's quite unlikely that the justices will wrap up the hearings then. Experts say more witnesses are likely to be summoned as some of the main testimonies we've heard so far have caused more confusion due to discrepancies with previous statements made in prosecutorial records or conflicting narratives between witnesses. While the court has emphasised its commitment to a speedy trial, there's been concern that the back-to-back witness questioning twice a week doesn't allow much time for a thorough review of the testimonies or evidence. Still, the opposition has called for a quick end to the trial, saying that the evidence is already out there.
Our patience is wearing thin. How much longer must we put up with the baseless conspiracy theories about election fraud? There's already been enough consideration given to the respondent through this week's witness examination. We hope for a swift conclusion to the proceedings.
All right, that was our Oh Soo-young on the president's impeachment trial.